This is Ray. This is Andy. This is FDS NFL Andy.
How's it going, Ray?
Andy, it's going great. What are we talking about today?
Quarterbacks, Ray.
Quarterbacks.
Never have we seen, that we can recall anyways, I believe we've discussed this, an offseason with more uncertainty as to where all the quarterback chips were going to fall. We've seen some crazy years, but this one seems exceptionally crazy. There's a couple articles out there where some let's say higher profile writers than us have taken a stab at this. So we decided we are going to predict the week one starter for all 32 NFL teams. And come week one, we're going to have a look at how we did.
Yep.
The person who got the least correct, the punishment will be that they have to wear for an entire video the uniform of the other's favorite team. So I would have to be dressed head to toe in Bill's gear. And I mean, it doesn't just have to be jersey and hat. I mean, you can go crazy.
I can go crazy?
Like, if I win, like, you'll be wearing a Baker headband.
All right.
Yeah.
Baker headband. Karate Kid.
Yeah. There you go. So you'll be wearing lots of Browns gear. Now, again, week one starter. Basically, if they were pegged to be the week one starter and by week one they're not starting due to injury, you still get it right.
Okay.
So the example I think we went through earlier is if Phillip Rivers signs somewhere, clearly he's signing there to be the starter, and they pick up a decent backup. Something happens, he gets hurt, and the other backup is starting in week one. You still get it right. And then in the reverse, if you happen to have picked that backup to be the starter there and they weren't going to be until an injury in front of them, then you don't get it.
Right.
Got it?
Yep.
All right. To get started here, I'm just going to run through all of the teams in the league that I actually thought are no-brainers. Okay? You tell me if any of these you disagree with, and we will make them a discussion.
Okay.
So I'll start AFC North and go all the way through. So Cleveland, I think it's clear it's Baker Mayfield.
What?
Cincinnati, I think we both think it's Joe Burrow, even though he hasn't even been drafted yet. So, but
It's interesting today, Andy. Burrow made a couple comments that sound like he may pull something at the draft, but I don't think he has any. I mean, he's going to Cincinnati.
Right.
That's it.
So I think you and I are both predicting him. And if you get drafted number one overall, you will be the week one starter.
You will be. Yeah.
It'll happen. In Baltimore, obviously, Lamar Jackson reigning MVP.
Yeah.
In the AFC East, Josh.
What about Big Ben? You didn't.
I have him as a question mark. I didn't know if you thought he was or not, but
we can discuss it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. In the AFC East, the two teams that I mentioned as no-brainers is the Bills and Josh Allen, obviously, and then the Jets and Sam Darnold. And then the other two I left as a question mark. In the AFC West, I have the KC. KC is a no-brainer with Patrick Mahomes, but the rest, wild cards.
Right.
Okay. AFC South, Deshaun Watson for Houston, no-brainer. The rest, a discussion.
Yeah.
Good? Okay. NFC North, Rodgers and Cousins are going to be starting for Green Bay and Minnesota. The other I thought might be worthy of discussion.
Okay.
NFC East, Daniel Jones will be coming back for New York, and Wentz coming back in Philly. The other two I left open for discussion.
Okay.
You all right with that? Okay. NFC West, Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco, Russell Wilson in Seattle, and Murray in Arizona were all no-brainers. I also think Goff is a bit of a no-brainer here too, but you're hearing crazy things about LA. You're even hearing Tom Brady's name with the Rams as opposed to the Chargers. Do you want that to be a discussion?
Well, I will tell you, I just read an article within the hour that somebody is making the claim that the 49ers are in talks with possibly letting Jimmy G go.
Okay.
Which will save them $20-some-odd million on the cap. Sign Tom Brady, who wants to be a 49er.
Right.
And take a run at the Super Bowl with Tom Brady and no Jimmy G. Right. So that's interesting, but I'm staying with Jimmy G in the San Francisco.
Yeah, that sounded like a lot of fiction. Jimmy G in San Francisco, but I mean Goff with the Rams. You think that's no-brainer?
I'm locked in with Goff at the Rams.
So am I, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on that one. And then NFC South, I have Matt Ryan with Atlanta as the only no-brainer, but we can add Breeze to that now that he's announced he's coming back. Yeah. I already had Breeze listed there anyway. Okay. So, but the other ones would be little bit of wild card.
Yeah.
Worth discussion.
Worth discussion.
All right, how about we'll kick it off with the AFC North and the Pittsburgh Steelers really quickly. You have Ben there, obviously.
I've got Ben starting.
I too have Ben starting, so it sounds like that we have all four the same in the AFC. We've got Baker, we got Ben, Burrow, and Lamar Jackson.
There's no way Big Ben wants his career to end based on last season, especially all the drama with Pittsburgh last year. He's going to come back focused more this year than any year in the last 10, that's for sure. And I expect good things for Big Ben in Pittsburgh.
And on the other side of that, after what Pittsburgh went through quarterback-wise last season, they've never wanted him back so bad.
Right.
So, for sure. All right. AFC East, since that's your division, I want you to kick this off and walk us through the AFC East.
All right, well, let's start in Miami.
Okay.
There's no question that I think Miami's going to draft a quarterback this year, whether it's Tua or the He-Bear kid.
Yep.
But they've got a veteran quarterback there now, which, I mean, this guy won games that he should not have won last year.
Oh, man, I got that.
And Andy, I am saying that Ryan Fitzpatrick will be the starter week 1 and be that bridge guy, maybe for the first 3 to 4 weeks until one of these rookie quarterbacks is ready to start.
Okay. I made a error here, but I'm going to stick with it because I could be telling you stories. I marked Tua down for Miami just to remind myself in my head that I feel like that's who they're going to end up drafting.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. I don't know health-wise or even just ability-wise if he'll be ready to start early, so I could see Ryan Fitzpatrick or somebody being there in front of him. That said, though, if Miami does end up with Tua, they'll be drafting him early enough that it's going to be so hard for them not to play him if he's healthy, and so far what we hear about his health has been very optimistic.
It's been optimistic.
So I will stick with it. So I'm going to go with Tua starting.
That's our first disagreement.
All right. New England
Patriots. Oh boy,
you want me to start here?
Go ahead. Give your thought.
Yeah, I think I've been voicing this for weeks, months even. I think when all is said and done, Tom Brady is going to realize that his best choice of all the teams to play for both his legacy and his ability to win games is the New England Patriots. And I also think when all is said and done, the New England Patriots are going to realize that Tom Brady, at no matter what price tag he's asking for, is by far their best option to bring back as a quarterback and take another shot at a title. So I'm done. I have Tom Brady starting for the New England Patriots. I've got that in there, and I am not changing that.
Okay. Listen, I have said from the get-go, I'm 99.99% sure Brady's gone for various reasons.
You have said that.
Especially now in the fact that the latest, him and Giselle are having marital problems, apparently. I mean, this is apparent.
You get into a lot of stuff.
That being said, I am struggling about what is going to happen in New England. There is a certain quarterback, former Cincinnati quarterback, Andy Dalton, which I think would make perfect in New England.
Yep.
I'd love to see the Bills draft or the Bills sign him as a backup behind Allen to help him with that veteran leadership. But I think Andy Dalton still wants to play.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking with this. Andy Dalton will be the starter for the New England Patriots.
Wow. Well, I'll say this, Ray. I think he probably would be the best choice for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots aside from Tom Brady. So if Tom Brady does go, I actually think Andy Dalton would be a great guy to have start in New England. He doesn't make a lot of noise, just head down, gets it done. He is a good quarterback. He is. And you put him in a system like Bill Belichick's where he's not asked to do as much down the field, and I think that's a good choice.
A system quarterback.
There we go. All right. Okay. Well, that's the AFC East. I will kick off the AFC West, and this one's more interesting, I think. Obviously, we both agree on Pat Mahomes in Kansas City. Now, the LA Chargers. I'm going to kick it off here because I find my answer rather interesting here, and I know yours will be. I can see the LA Chargers wanting to make a big splash, wanting to put a big billboard on the highway so that they can get people into that new stadium. Obviously, they don't want the Rams to be the only team in town. And again, the Rams are barely a team in town. LA and football is interesting. However, as perfect as Tom Brady would be for that billboard, there's another quarterback
I
I
know.
think would be good for that billboard as well. And I could just see the stars aligning here. And I'm going to say Cam Newton starts for the LA Chargers.
Wow. I got the exact same thing.
Really?
I do. I got Cam Newton starting there.
Okay, all right. I thought for sure you were going to have Brady going.
No, listen, I'm stuck in this point. I'm stuck in this point because Cam Newton would be perfect in the LA market. Perfect for the LA market.
Sure.
His suits, his hair, he's LA.
Yeah,
he's LA,
very much LA.
right? But the reason why I thought Brady would want to go to LA is, again, the whole California thing.
Right.
And number two is there are more weapons in LA from the other team I'm going to bring up.
Yeah.
But let's go there now. Las Vegas Raiders, Andy.
Okay.
And that's where I have Tom Brady starting next year.
Wow.
Gruden is going to be, doing everything. Him and Davis are going to do everything they can to get Tom Brady.
Wow.
They may offer him $80 million guaranteed, Andy. These guys are going to spend every penny they can get to get Tom Brady to come to Las Vegas and sell out their new stadium, which looks like the Death Star. Have you seen the pictures?
Yeah,
it looks
cool.
like the Death Star. It's amazing. And what a way to get started in Vegas with Tom Brady as your quarterback. And that's where I have Brady playing in the 2020 season.
There you go. I mean, to me, both teams are a poor choice for Brady just because he'd have to pick up a whole new offensive system after being in the same one for so long. And neither one has a very sturdy
Can
offensive...
I make a comment on that, though?
Sure.
When Peyton Manning went to Denver,
Right.
Peyton Manning drew the offensive playbook. And when he was on the field, he took command of that offensive playbook. And I bet you there's a piece of Tom Brady that wants to have that respect from his peers as well.
Is there a piece of John Gruden that will allow that?
Absolutely. You know why? Because he loves that guy.
Yeah. All right.
He loves that guy.
Well, maybe, Ray, but I'm still, that's my reasoning there. And the offensive lines, I mean, both teams are going to have to do some work on getting a much better offensive line, especially the Chargers. So, but either way, okay, that's your decision. Las Vegas, I'm going safe with Derek Carr. I think you might see Mayock and Gruden draft somebody this year as the heir apparent, but Gruden will not start a rookie quarterback ever. No. That's just not going to happen. Despite the fact that he used to do that quarterback QB school for ESPN where he loved every rookie quarterback, and I'd trot this guy out there, man, in a second, but he'd never play him as a rookie. Never.
No, so not in a new stadium. No way.
Well, doesn't matter
and I'm
anyway.
telling you right now, the last thing Gruden wants to do is trot out Derek Carr, Derek Carr in that new stadium, new crowd. I just can't see it.
Well, I'm going to stick with Carr. And then speaking of bland, Denver. Now, this is boring to me, but, there are some interesting details here. I'm going to play it safe here again, and I'm going to say that Locke continues to be the starter going into next season, and I think the main reason is just Elway is definitely not going to be in a hurry to admit he's made yet another mistake at quarterback. So he got in there last year after Flacco was done, and they had a lot of quarterback turnover. If you look at his numbers, it was okay. He was showing some steady play, I guess. And I think, another offseason, they're going to talk themselves into thinking another offseason, a full offseason as the starter and everything like that going through camp. So I think they're going to trot him out there. And again, I view it as kind of a safe pick because I'd rather it's safer to pick somebody that you already know is on the team versus trying to guess somebody that isn't. Though, actually, no, I'm going to wait till after you give me your take before I give you this next point because I don't want to steal your guy.
I'm staying with Locke as well as the starter. Okay. But I know Elway's always looking. Now I'm going to throw out a name now that's going to reflect a change I got later in the podcast, but that is watch out for Jameis Winston in Denver.
Okay.
Jameis Winston is got a gun. Elway loves a guy that can get the ball downfield. He's got wide receivers that can get downfield in Denver.
Right.
Watch out for Jameis Winston and his new spectacles. Watch out for him in Denver.
And I'm going to say the same thing, except I'm going to say watch out for Teddy Bridgewater in Denver, who doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Might not have that cannon, though that cannon hasn't been serving Denver very well. And turnovers do not serve Denver well at all.
No.
And when you're looking at Jameis Winston and you want to get scared about something, hey, there's a few turnovers there.
But he's got new eyes now.
That is true. That is true. That's one of my favorite stories of the offseason so far, to be honest with you. It took 5 years into his career to realize, hey, maybe vision is important for the quarterback position, right? All right, AFC South. Do you want to kick it off?
I'll kick it off. Indianapolis Colts is where I'm starting, Andy.
Yep.
And this is where I've got a big change in this division.
Okay.
Because a guy that you just brought up is going to be the starting quarterback for Indy. Indy has all the tools to go to the Super Bowl in 2020. They had all the tools to go to the Super Bowl in 2019.
Yeah.
You know what they were lacking? Quarterback. Why not get a guy that's got experience? He's young. He's healthy. He just went 5-0 to kick off the season with the Saints. Boom! Teddy Bridgewater is coming to the Colts to be their starting quarterback.
That would be exciting. I'm kind of thinking on the same wavelength as you right up until I actually make the pick. Yes, they've got a team. It's ready. It's ready to go to the playoffs. It's ready to maybe even compete for a Super Bowl. The only thing they're missing is quarterback. And the most important thing is they have a really good offensive line, or they have the pieces to make a really good offensive line. This is where I have Phillip Rivers taking one final shot at making a deep playoff run, and dare I say, maybe even a Super Bowl run. I know you think way less of Phillip Rivers than I do, and we're not going to get into that discussion. Otherwise, this video is going to last forever. But I think a lot of what happened with Phillip Rivers last year was offensive line, lack of protection, and I think a fresh new place, a fresh new take. He's very familiar with Frank Reich. They were together before. I'm gonna go with Phillip Rivers here. I think Indy's gonna take a shot at it and see where it goes. It might blow up right in their face, but I see this an interesting story for Phillip Rivers.
There you go.
Next,
well, we've got Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Tannehill played his way into a contract.
Right. He has no G in his name, but yes.
Tannehill. All right. This guy deserves a contract and deserves to be the starter in Tennessee.
I only have two questions. Why would he want to leave Tennessee? And why would Tennessee think they could do better based on what they just saw?
The only reason he'd want to leave is if Derrick Henry doesn't sign. And I think that's a package deal. If Derrick Henry signs, he'll be back.
I just think it's the place he's going to want to be and needs to be regardless. But yeah, so we agree there. And finally, Jacksonville.
Jacksonville's a funny spot, man. I wouldn't be surprised to see Minshew back on the field this year, but I do think that Doug Marrone, knowing Doug Marrone and how conservative Doug Marrone is, he's going to go back to Nick Foles to kick off this season.
I think we're going to be looking at an open competition between these two quarterbacks in camp, but I think Gardner Minshew is going to win the starting job pretty early on in preseason. I think he's as safe of a play as Nick Foles. In fact, if you look at his numbers and how well he looked after the ball,
I agree 100%.
He's as safe as it gets. And on top of that, I think not that Doug Marrone needs ownership support, but I think despite the fact that they gave Nick Foles that big pile of money, Gardner Minshew, especially with this team going over to London for 2 games, he's an exciting character.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's going to sell jerseys, and he's a great face for that franchise, especially as they dip their toes in London even further with 2 games. So I'm going to go with Gardner Minshew.
And I listen, every point you just made, I agree with you 100%. I just know Doug Marrone, and with the money that they're paying Foles, and with the way Foles got hurt, I would not be surprised to see Nick Foles trot out as the starter.
I wouldn't either. This is tough to call. All right, down to the NFC now. NFC North, we both agreed Rodgers and Cousins are no-brainers. Now, Chicago and Detroit. I wish this was more interesting than it actually is, but I'll kick this off with Chicago. Now, I'm hearing, oh, wow, the Bears are going to be some good when Andy Dalton's taking snaps and all that, and they probably would be. I just don't think Chicago is going to be willing to give up this quickly on Mitch Trubisky.
No.
I think that they're going to do everything they can to recapture some of that magic, simplify the offense down for him even more, give him another full offseason. I think Mitch Trubisky is the starter again.
I agree 100%. They're not going to give up on this kid yet. They're going to see what he does this year, give him another full off season to prep for the season. But they do need a backup behind him just in case this does not work. Yeah. Andy Dalton's not that guy because we've already talked about the fact he doesn't want to be a backup at this point in his career.
He may not have a choice, but
he's going to get a starting role with the Patriots. So watch out for Marcus Mariota here in Chicago to back him up. And I would not be surprised, depending on how that season gets started, if they turn the ball over to him pretty quickly.
Very similar skill sets. Isn't that interesting? Marcus Mariota possibly becoming this year's Ryan Tannehill.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In Detroit, Matt Stafford was playing great before he got hurt, and Matt Stafford is undroppable. He's undroppable. He's untradeable. The cap hit that they would take would be insane. Matt Patricia needs a veteran quarterback back there. The only problem with Matt Stafford last year was health and nothing else. Definitely going to be Matt Stafford.
It's 100%. And any talk of otherwise is plain
crazy.
Foolishness.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Okay.
All right. NFC East, Jones and Wentz, we both agreed on. We might even agree on these, but let's start with Washington first because Dallas is probably a more interesting discussion. What do you got for Washington?
I got Haskins.
Yeah.
They're sticking with Haskins. Again, this is another one of those rookie quarterback deals. I mean, the kid played half decent last year, and you know, for his first year in the league, and they've got to give him a second year. Yeah. He's starting.
Well, they got a new coach, and I'm guessing that this new coach, who basically had this job before anybody knew they were everybody knew that's where they were going. They had that lined up early. This coach clearly, clearly bought into this quarterback. I think that was probably part of
the package.
Of the package. So I'm going Haskins too. Though if there's any team wild enough, I guess, or lack thereof, to make a big decision like this early, of all the teams that probably could move on from their guy way too early. I mean, Washington will never cease to amaze me with some of the decisions around quarterbacks they make. But I got Haskins too. Dallas.
Alex Smith could be back.
There you go. And Dallas, I will hand you the floor after telling you that I don't think there is any way that Jerry Jones doesn't crunch the numbers, redo a couple of contracts for their big name players in order to give Dak what he needs, or just in order to be able to afford the franchise tag on him. Dak Prescott is going nowhere. He's the face of the franchise now.
He's going nowhere. Here's my concern about Dak Prescott, Andy. My concern is they don't get a deal done, and they have to franchise tag him.
Yeah.
And Dak Prescott pulls out his Ezekiel Elliott and says, I'm out, and holds out for week one.
Right.
That adds a whole new element to this competition because I think Dak's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
But if they don't get a deal done and they franchise him, Andy, there's a good chance he sits out week one because he is going to hold out.
Well, if he does that, all I would say is the Cowboys, I would still consider the Cowboys smart in making him do that. And I think it would be kind of a dumb move for him to try and pull that. But if he does, he does. We'll see where it goes. We've seen Jerry deal with these things before.
But you're taking Prescott too.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a wash regardless.
It's a wash. There's no way. All right, NFC West. We both agreed on Jimmy G, Russell Wilson, and Murray and Goff. We agreed on all four, so we don't even have to run through them.
No.
Now, NFC South. We both agree on Breeze now that he's announced that he's definitely coming back, and we both agree on Matt Ryan, correct?
Yep.
All right. Tampa Bay and Carolina.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Start wherever you want.
The quarterback that's got 9 kids, Andy.
You're right.
Is it 9 kids? It's a lot of kids.
It might be double digits now.
It is crazy.
Now, if that wasn't enough for me to narrow this down, did he recently move all those kids to Florida?
The entire family has moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Okay? This is where his wife grew up, is in Florida.
Right.
There is no way this guy is going to live in Florida with 9 kids and travel to Indianapolis to play quarterback. This guy is starting for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers next year watching the pirate ship light up.
Okay.
And Mike Evans. And I mean, you look at the tools and you got Bruce
got some
Arians
weapons.
there.
They got some
They've
weapons.
got some weapons.
Yeah.
They got to sort out their running back game. But, I mean, Phillip Rivers could go to Tampa Bay and put up a very good season there.
Okay. None of that was crazy. Now, I've heard multiple people, like multiple insider guys, say that what they're hearing is that don't read too much into Phillip Rivers' move to Florida, that was mainly because that's where him and his wife were eventually going to end up for reasons that you've already brought up. That his location in terms of where he moved is completely independent of where he's going to play. So basically what they're saying is don't assume it's Miami or Tampa simply because he moved to Florida. That was a family move that they're getting a head start on because obviously he is in the twilight of his career. I obviously have Phillip Rivers going somewhere else. We've already talked about it. Look, Jameis Winston, I see coming back. Now, Jameis Winston and Bruce Arians, I mean, Bruce Arians really threw him under the bus at the end of the season. Jameis Winston is now the one and only member all-time of the 30-30 club, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. He turned the ball over a lot. However, the very first year in Arizona when Carson Palmer took over in Bruce Arians' offense, he threw a boatload of interceptions as well. It seems to take a year to ease into that offense and start to figure things out. New eyes are going to help as well. I think at the end of the day, Tampa Bay looks at this guy. They drafted him number 1 overall. He was been the face of their franchise for a while. There's it's not like he's a completely unpopular guy in Tampa. I think that they similar to the Patriots and Brady, I think that they quickly realize that they are each other's best option and they get something done and they give this a shot. And I think the eye surgery is actually just like him giving them another reason to justify it.
So let me ask you this. If you're Winston, are you going to sign a deal for less than 3 years?
Yeah, I think so. Because
with your home team?
I think so. And why? I'll just repeat the words I just said, because I think both sides are going to realize that they are each other's best option. I don't think there's anybody else out there willing to go over 2 years for Jameis Winston either.
Right.
So ultimately, if you're going to accept a 2-year, even if there's like an option for the second year, I think he's going to realize that familiarity, especially with his receivers, him and Mike Evans have been together for the entire time. That's where he's going to go.
Here's my only point on the River stuff you were talking about, because I've heard it too, and I get it, but don't listen to it, folks. It's all contract negotiation garbage going on right now. This guy moved to Florida. Look at all the kids. This guy can't go 3 weeks from being away from the house, Andy. He can't do it.
Ray, he's probably dying for 3 weeks away from the house.
Yeah, but he'll have another 2 kids on the go this year. He needs to be around his wife. The guy's playing for Tampa Bay.
All right, let's wrap this up quick because this is going on here. Carolina, our final team. This one I had a hard time with, so I was trying to figure out what dominoes were still available. Obviously, on my list, Andy Dalton is still available. Teddy Bridgewater is still available. Neither one of these guys are starting. However, Justin Herbert is going up, soaring up draft boards and really impressed folks at the Senior Bowl. There's a brand new head coach who's from a college system in Carolina. And when you're a brand new head coach and you hitch yourself to a brand new rookie first-round quarterback, that buys you a bunch of time and allows you to grow together. So I'm going to go with Herbert because, as you know, another one of my predictions that we've gone over multiple times, bold prediction, but prediction, is that 3 quarterbacks will be drafted in the first 4 picks of the draft.
Yeah.
And I think there's a move here, and Carolina gets Herbert, and he is their starter.
I agree with you on the Herbert going to Carolina. Okay. I agree with you on that. But I also don't think, based on what we saw from Daniel Jones and last year, I don't think they're going to bring him out under center week 1. But what a great quarterback to put in front of him. Somebody that's bland, somebody that the crowd's not going to win, or he's not going to win the crowd over, but he can come out and manage a few games for you while this guy learns the system, and that's Derek Carr. Derek Carr will be your week 1 starter in Carolina.
Interesting. Okay. That would be a big move to draft a guy in the first round and then also put up potentially really big money for Derek Carr. But sure, I mean, that might happen. Well, there you have it, folks. We agreed on a lot, but we disagreed on enough to make this interesting.
Yes.
So come week 1, we'll be tallying this up. We will figure this out. And then on a later video, who knows what the topic of it is going to be, though what the topic is going to become is how ridiculous one of us are dressed in a team attire other than their favorite one.
Exactly.
If you guys need a beer, get yourself a Moose Light. Why?
This stuff is scary good.
And if you want a shirt like this or a hat like that, DCI.com, Doyle Corporate Image. Doyle's Rule. Later,
Thanks, guys.